Awesome.
Uh, don't include this.
Yeah, well, I'm not really camera ready myself, but yeah.
It's been creeping backward. I don't know why. I don't know what.
Oh,
You want me to come in?
Yeah, please. Susan's coming.
good.
Come on, baby.
There we go. Hi.
Hi
Okay.
there. How are you?
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
fine.
there you are.
There. Now I can, you guys keep going in and out a little bit.
Yeah, we're maybe, I don't know.
You
Yeah,
might
we
have to
have to sit
just
really close
you
together.
might have to just do no background and let me see what's behind you. Oh, wait, I can see you both now. That's fine.
Okay, hold on. Well, I can change the video. Hold on. Uh,
Yeah, maybe not so busy back there. It's pretty though.
uh, video. Uh,
Hi, baby girl.
oh, that's not. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Backgrounds. Hold on. Mirror my video. Oh, none. Okay. Is that better?
Perfect. So good to see you guys.
Well, it's good to see you. I've heard a lot about you too.
Oh, wow. Well, I hope it was good.
Well,
I
from what I
joined the
heard, it was pretty
chapter.
good. You know, I guess you're a human, so they said extraordinary, but I didn't know exactly.
Well, yeah.
Ah, now,
It,
where do you live now?
I'm in Laguna Niguel.
Oh, okay, that's a good place to live.
Yeah.
Rachel used to live there.
Who used to live there?
Rachel.
Rachel
Oh,
Lewis.
okay. Yeah. I talked to her on the phone about a week ago. So, thank you guys so much for talking to me. And I'll share how this came up. So, every once in a while in our coaching chapter, ICF Orange County, we talk about how it all started. And this year we were trying to figure out, well, last year we were trying to figure out if it was our 25th anniversary or not. And then this year they sent us this thing that said that we started in March of 2001. And April said no, and Rachel said, no, I started it in 1999.
Yeah,
And I
she
thought, well,
started
maybe it
late
got incorporated
1999.
in 2001, but I want to hear the story and I want it for the rest of the chapter to hear because we're getting to the point now where people don't remember anything from the beginning and they're not friends with the people from the beginning anymore. And ICF is having their big global converge conference this year and they're celebrating 30th anniversary. And
Hmm.
so we're trying to find people that were around near the beginning and have them tell the story of the beginning because people don't know it anymore.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was wondering if the two of you would mind sharing, I guess, first of all, how our chapter started, all the stories that you can think of that we can get to in the time that we have today.
Okay.
Because I can tell you how I first came to the chapter.
Okay.
My coach was Leah Grant.
Okay.
And she had gone to a couple of the first meetings with Rachel, or Rachel was spearheading it.
Mm-hmm.
And we met in a small restaurant. I can't remember. It's like a,
South Coast Plaza.
yeah, it was like a little plants and stuff. It was just like a little nice restaurant. And
Mm-hmm.
I went to one or two meetings there. And with Leah was going, we went together, we met there. And that's how I met Rachel.
Okay.
And then right after that, it seems like the we moved to the Wyndham Hotel in was it just Orange County or
Yeah, yeah, that
Costa
was,
Costa
Mesa?
Mesa.
yeah,
Okay.
it was right, it was the one right by the South Coast Plaza,
Yeah, yeah.
just across the street.
It was the Wyndham at that time in Costa Mesa. So
Mhm.
that's how I originally came is in the very beginning. And I was brand new to Coach U and I knew Leah and I don't know how that happened, but and then therefore I met Rachel and we kind of all, Rachel especially was driving it. So I think Leah and I kind of followed a bit.
Love that. And then, so
Well,
Rachel said she started it sometime in 1999.
it was late 1999 or the last half of 19, I don't remember the month, that she started it. And she and I became friends because of a few things. And we just kind of overlapped on, I was becoming a coach and along with Susan. But I had met Rachel through a leadership program. I don't
Mm.
remember the one exactly. And we just kind of hit it off. And actually, Rachel and I were kind of friends. We used to rollerblade together all the time, all over the place. And
And did you do Toastmasters together?
no,
Oh, okay.
she
That was
wasn't in
separate.
Toastmasters with me. But yeah, and she was always competitive. She beat my butt in rollerblade. And I was in pretty good shape. But I lived in Irvine at the time. And anyway, so when she started the chapter, oh, I know one of the things Rachel was doing was this assessment.
Oh,
It's
the disc.
the disc. She was doing the
Okay.
disc assessments. And
And she was doing a lot of training on it and becoming very involved in
yeah,
the organization.
and so I
Okay.
went in and I became certified in disc, and then I did a couple little seminars with her. I can remember one in Laguna Beach, and Susan came to that one.
Hmm.
And
But I didn't know you then.
no, and but I had my eye on you, so how could
So
I
he,
not?
so he says.
Anyway, so that's how it kind of developed. And then, I knew about her starting a chapter and I started going to the meetings and then Susan was the ones at the restaurant. It's just in South Coast Plaza. Well, you know how the plaza itself has a street
Yeah,
all the
just
way around it, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like would be the east side of the plaza, a little restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then Rachel was saying towards the end of 2000, she said, Jim, she said, you've been president of a few organizations before, and would you consider becoming president of this chapter? And I said, sure, I'd love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did become president in 2001. I actually was elected. People didn't know me enough to vote against me, so they voted for me. Uh, and then the, I I worked a lot both in the corporate world and as a business person, but also as a coach, and I'm also an artist. And I picking up the reins from Rachel, and she done a great job of getting us started. And I was also active in California Society as well as ICF itself
Mm-hmm.
in different roles. And Susan and I would go to the annual meetings for ICF and everything. So we got to know a few people, and still some of those leaders in ICF now are still friends of ours from that time. And but I I'm pretty good with organization, so I kind of decided, well, we need to grow this chapter because I don't remember exactly how many members we had at the
When
time.
we moved to the hotel, excuse me, when we moved to the hotel, about how many members came? Do you recall?
I think
About
when I
30?
started, we had 29 members. I did write it down.
Mhm.
And that was the end of 2000. So when I started, there were 29. At the end of the year, we had 56.
That's
So we,
awesome.
doubled our membership. I also, focused on developing more organizations. So I created leadership roles and meeting formats because I've always been a champion, even before I became a coach, I've always been a champion of people. I love people and I like to see them grow, and I'm pretty good at spotting people's talents and abilities.
Mhm.
Uh,
So
maybe,
you created the board?
yeah, so I created the board the
I think
way,
Rachel had started that.
yeah. but I expanded it, and that's when we had the president, VP, the treasurer, secretary, membership, and marketing and communications. And then we had chairs for each of those. Susan started out as the treasurer.
Okay.
Now, I have to admit, I do have a wee bit of a sleazy side, just a little tiny bit.
Hmm.
I met this woman at a Coach U conference in Costa Mesa
Hmm.
in 1999. And it was one of those Coach U weekends where they introduce you to their program if you want to become a coach. And I tend to sit in the front of a room, but there was this beautiful woman, very well dressed at the very back of the room on the aisle. And I insinuated myself on her. Much, she told me later how much I was too close.
Oh
But
yeah, that he was he got in my
Practically on your
personal
lap, I bet.
space a little bit. So I was like, whoa.
however, she was patient enough to put up with me. It actually took me a year to get a date with her.
Mm.
And then, so during that year, then I'm building the board, and
Hmm.
we're having board meetings. And I asked this young woman. She had been a bond trader and a manager for E.F. Hutton for
Hmm.
several years, and so I knew she had both financial and leadership qualities. So I asked her to be our treasurer, and she kind of reluctantly agreed. And so then she became part of the board. And of course, then she had to come to board meetings. So I got to see her a little more often. Uh, anyway, it was such a good group of people. It
Mm.
was, Rachel, of course, Karen Boss
Oh,
Kemper, Joan Friedlander. Did you get a hold of Joan by any
Yeah, I'm
chance?
still friends with Joan.
yeah.
Okay. Greg Giuliano. Now he
Hmm.
wasn't
He
there at the
came a
very
little
beginning. He
bit
came
later.
later. Leah, of course, was there, and Philip Henderson. He's another good person to talk to.
Oh yeah, I remember he was, I think, treasurer when
Yeah,
Joan
he was our
Freeland was
treasurer,
president. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
but he's a
Uh-huh.
very philosophical, incredible
Uh-huh.
human being. Just
He's
love
a
that
wonderful
man.
man.
Judy Knight was part
Oh
of our
yeah.
group. And there was a woman, Oksana Orel. She's one I've not kept up with. Just about everybody else, I still am in communication. Deb Valley and Dina Weinberg.
Hmm.
She's
Mhm.
now Esther Weinberg, and she's now living in Austin. But I have kept up with all of these people except for Oksana. She's the only one that I know that her mother was really sick and she was taking care of her mother and didn't have time after a while. But all of these people, and then three of these, Joan and Leah and uh, Greg and who else became president, honey?
Uh,
Seems like
Elaine.
there's another person.
I didn't know that Leah ever became president. So that's good because I need to fill her in.
I don't
Am I wrong?
I don't know if she did become president.
Well, she was very active, but
Well, she was
maybe I'm
active in the
mistaken.
beginning, but she had, several other things that she was also active in. So I recall that she didn't come all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think she was president, but I could be wrong.
Got it. Okay. Well, but it sounds like maybe she
Hold
had
on.
another board role,
Okay,
possibly.
Yes,
Rachel, of course. Greg.
Deb.
Deb was never a president, was she?
No.
No. Nor was Karen.
Yeah, I made a list. I have Rachel, you, Greg, Joan, Elaine, Patricia Hirsch, and then me.
Elaine, that's who I was trying to think
Right.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds.
yeah. So,
But were you president for 2 years then? 2001 and 2002?
well, it was like a 3-year commitment in that I was president-elect, president, and then past president. But then Greg took over in 2002. Or wait a minute. No, I was
2001.
I was still there in no, not 2002. I finished a 1 year as president. And we also created these committees. a nomination election committee, a finance committee, membership, programs, education, professional, a development committee, marketing, public relations, and publications committees. And then we got a chair or somebody to run each of those committees. We also created the first bylaws for the
Mhm.
chapter. Uh, you
That's
know,
how we grew
yeah,
from 30
yeah,
to 60 people.
yeah. And we also obtained ICF sanction to give CE credits during my year there.
Mhm.
The revenue in the fiscal year of 2000, our revenue was $7,861 with a net profit of $23.99. In 2001, the revenue was 14,906 with a net profit of 4,204. So, we almost doubled the revenue, doubled the membership. And then we also, and this was due to Susan, we started a thing called the Free Arts for Abused Children. Susan used to be on a board with a group of ladies from Beverly Hills because she used to run with that crowd. Married a very fancy girl. And what was your called your children's?
It was called Free Arts for Abused Children.
Mhm.
And it was a lot of running like little games and contests for children that were in like group homes,
Yep.
small children to preteen. And one of my service jobs was working at a large group home, like a small, facility.
Mhm.
As preteen girls, like maybe 11 to 14 or something. And they
Mhm.
had, there were some sorry and very sad, unfortunate cases
Mhm.
of children and what they had been there. And now they were in a safe environment. So we brought different things into them to do as a project bi-monthly, I believe. And they were all around art, things that they could make for themselves to like keep a calendar in their room or something like that. And if some kids were, and these were all girls, and if
Mhm.
some kids were, not quite able to do that, then we had a little different kind of project that they could choose.
Oh, I
So I went
love
in
that.
with a few women and we, we did that. So we got to know the girls and stuff.
That
And
sounds
So
then we
wonderful.
adopted that charity as to sponsor Christmas.
Oh, wow.
So we actually got lists of what they wanted and no promises that they would get that. But then people at ICF took their names and their interest, or just their first name and their interest in a couple things they wanted for Christmas. And then we collected the gifts and we
Oh
took,
my gosh.
yeah,
That's such a great idea.
Susan spearheaded
yeah,
that,
we did that
and
for I think 2 years.
yeah, and that worked out pretty good. It really
That
did.
was fun though, too.
Because she changed from treasurer to hospitality.
Mhm.
You know,
Well, I dealt with the hotel and
yeah.
Mhm.
it
Yeah,
was
that
a
makes
dinner
sense.
meeting, so the count for the hotel and menus and stuff.
So yeah, she became hospitality and event chair, which we needed. And she knew a lot of people too, and that helped, with her background and everything.
Mhm.
Um, So that was pretty much the thrust of the year. That was what we
Hmm.
accomplished as far as I can remember, and what the intention was,
Mhm.
and what we actually accomplished. And we just had such a dynamic group. The board of directors, these people are all leaders. I will send you some and you'll see a picture. We had the whole group at our home a few times. We lived in Hermosa Beach at that time.
Mhm.
And I'll send you this thing I wrote
I think
earlier.
we had a couple little parties at our home where with the board and they brought their husband or spouse or whatever and
Yeah.
we just got together, not necessarily about work, but just
Yeah, yeah, I
our
love
own
that.
selves. But of course, we were all doing similar things.
Yeah. And we
Oh,
were all friends. We were. It was a
Yeah,
family.
we're still friends with, some more than others, but But
Yeah.
I still talk to Deb and Karen all the time, and so
Mhm.
does Jim, different people, but we're in contact with most everybody.
Yeah, we are trying to track down some people. Maybe I heard you say Coach you. We're trying to track down Sandy Vilas if he's still around.
He's still
Oh,
alive. I saw something from him, I don't know, sometime this year or the end of last year. I can't remember. I can look to see if I can find it. I think he was in Florida, if I
Yeah,
recall.
I found on Facebook that I think he's in Arizona,
Oh,
but
he's in Arizona now?
I
it's
don't know
someplace
how he
really
is.
warm and sunny because I think it's tennis or boating or golfing. I know he does a lot of outdoor things, so it probably would be someplace with nice weather. I just believe that's his background as being very active and out.
Yeah. I think we're trying to get some people together, and the two of you might be interested. But for the big Converge conference in San Diego, we might try to put together a fireside chat or something with people that were there at the beginning, right? And could talk about kind of how ICF came to be and everything like that. I assume you guys also knew Thomas Leonard, probably, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm-
We had met him and talked with him a few times at different conferences and things
Hmm.
before he passed away.
Yeah, we actually knew Thomas a little bit. And in Canada is she was his right-hand man.
Andrew Lee.
Yeah, Andrea Lee. I don't know if you know her name, but she's
That name
very
sounds
active.
very familiar.
She's a coach. She was very active
And
in,
she worked with Thomas as his assistant
yeah. And
um,
so
for several years, and I believe she's somebody who might have found him, but she knew right away.
yeah. And so that's another person I know that I stay in touch with and everything.
Yeah, she's a
Andrea has started branching out to her artistic side in addition to coaching and helping women.
yeah,
And
she's
I do
become quite an
artwork too,
artist.
so we kind of share that in common. Plus, we knew Thomas and his little dog that would, what do they call him, that would nip on your, he would chew on your lip.
Fingernails?
No, he would chew on the bottom of your pants.
Oh,
Yeah, towards the end, Thomas lived in an RV and we went to visit a couple of times, and he had this little white
yeah, the little
poodle
white
or,
ball of fur, but
yeah,
really cute. And
yeah,
that
but
was
anyway.
his little baby.
But, to me, one of the more outstanding parts of my term in office, besides being able to work with all these incredible people, is December of 2001. Greg was going to be the next president. So that was my last month as president. And a couple of things happened during that month. First of all, that was the year of
9/11.
9/11.
Yep.
So
And
we didn't have an October meeting.
yeah,
So I don't think we had an October or September meeting
we didn't have,
for a few months. We didn't come together until December.
was it? Okay. I don't remember.
I thought it was December, but
Yeah.
it was the last meeting before Greg would be coming in.
Yeah. Well, that was December.
Well, you tell.
But we had uh, met this Pather Dalton, who was an Irish Catholic priest, but then he got married, so he could no longer be an Irish Catholic. He's still a minister. And he and his wife, and they were the most delightful people. And he was supposed, because we had a speaker every month at our club. We brought in somebody from the outside to
And it
speak.
was usually about business, how someone built their thing or how they were using an assessment to help
Hmm.
their clients and talk a lot about marketing with that or the good results that they were getting. So
Hmm.
anybody who had kind of branched off into an expertise and wanted to share, we had those type of people as speakers.
Hmm.
But because of 9/11 and not having a meeting, I don't know for how many months, we had met Pather Dalton and we invited him to speak from a more spiritual holistic level because everybody had been through so much and seen
Yeah.
so much. So it was kind of the closing of tragedy and, opening up to the world again in our own lives and in our own person. So he was the perfect person to ask to come and speak, but because he's so generous of heart and feeling and knowledge. So he's a wonderful man.
It really is. Well, unbeknownst to anybody but me, I told you, I still got a little bit of sleep, just a little teeny bit. I had prepared to, well, what happened with the meeting was we always had reserved a 15-minute time period, and we often would draw the meeting for who gets to speak at the next meeting from inside the club.
Mhm.
And in December, it was supposed to be Greg's turn to speak, and they could talk about whatever they want to in their own business and everything. And I asked Greg, I said, would you mind if I take your 15 minutes? There's something I really need to say. And he said, okay, it's fine with him. And then the hospitality chairperson was at the back of the room
Well, we
because,
were doing
yeah,
Christmas
we're doing
gifts. I
Christmas
was
and that,
labeling and sorting
yeah,
people that were bringing in, little skateboards or dolls
yeah, for the free
and
arts
for
thing.
the yachts
And I
things.
asked her in front of 65 people if she would mind coming up to the front. And now she may not look like it, but she's a pretty big introvert. And she's not, while she could speak quite well in front of a crowd, she's not a person that wants to draw a lot of attention to herself. So, poor thing, she comes up, we get her a chair, put her in a chair, and I proceed to read a poem I'd written because I also write poetry. And the poem was probably way too long. But in the poem, I talked about relationships, all kinds of stuff. And the last thing I said was, and now I want to ask you a question, and you can say yes, no, or maybe. And she was mortified in the first place. And she told me later she just wanted her chair to drop down through the floor and disappear. And
Since I
she
didn't know what was going on, I just was, please stop, cut this short.
And she also felt everybody in the room would have thought this was really hokey or terrible or something. Anyway, so then after I finished, she didn't even hear the questions. She just wanted out of there. And so then I had a recording of music and I started the music and I dropped down on one knee and I had a ring. Now, it wasn't an engagement ring, but she and I had been to the LA Jewelry
Sure.
Mart and she went in to have her watch fixed. And in that window of the guy that fixed her watch, he had this one ring that she noticed and she said, oh, that's lovely.
An antique, little antique
Yeah.
piece.
And she said, if you ever want to buy me a friendship ring, that would be it. So unbeknownst to her, I went back later and bought that ring. And then, I presented the ring, asked her to marry me, and she just, well, what she actually said was, well, I guess. But
Not very romantic of me.
But what really made the evening special was Pather. He immediately took over and he put a blessing on us. And then since we had candles on the table, he had everybody turn the
We got
lights
a
out.
special dispensation from the hotel to have real candles on the tables because we were in a small ballroom. And
Oh,
I guess it's
wow.
really a fire hazard and stuff. So it wasn't as businesslike as it usually is this holiday meeting.
Hmm.
But Pather then had everybody in the room form a circle in the room. And he put us in the middle of it.
And
And
they turned the lights down.
yeah, and then what happened?
And then from the circle and us in the center, everyone, or at one at a time, people of our friends and members of ICF Orange County, if they chose to, they gave us a blessing.
Oh,
So they would
wow.
say, wish you love and happiness and health. And some of them were, they were all very lovely. And some of them were very moving and
Mm.
very, really wonderful things. And one girl, somebody, I can't remember the name, sang a small little part of a song a cappella. It was beautiful.
Oh my gosh,
And
how beautiful.
oh, I know so many really loving blessings, and it was just like a flood of sort of acceptance and care and love from so many people. It
Oh
was
my
really
gosh.
special. I
And
wish we had had a recording of that. I
yeah,
wish we had
I
that,
was
but
just going to ask that that must have been beautiful. It would be great if someone would have been able
I
to.
yeah.
know,
Well,
I
we
know.
didn't anticipate that. It's
Yeah, that
because of
was,
Heather that it happened. But this woman went from being mortified to beaming in that circle. It just struck her heart so much.
well, we could breathe, all the pressure was off.
The lights were off. Everyone wasn't
The
looking
lights were
anymore.
dim,
Yeah,
and then the genuine moment of people's
right.
genuine thoughts and feelings, nothing prepared.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was easy to take that all in and have a very glowy, good feeling. So we
Oh my
did.
gosh, that just sounds
So
wonderful.
you can see that our chapter was such an incredible organization of people. I mean, yeah, I was the president and I did my best to act like a president and build organization, but the people we had, they're exceptional. They're still exceptional
Yeah,
people.
Yeah.
They're leaders in their own way all over the place now. They've
yeah.
all moved different places and stuff, but just love those
They
people.
were a
We just love them.
fabulous group. Our board and all of our members, they were really, really a wonderful group to kind of start this venture because we'd all had recently done, coaching education. Some people were ahead of us, many were coming behind us. And yeah, it was a very good experience just to see a new industry, begin to flourish.
I know, and I think you guys might like to hear this from a legacy point of view. But one of the things I've noticed about our chapter, there's a big Los Angeles chapter now and a big San Diego chapter now. But our Orange County chapter, we have people come and say that the feeling there is more welcoming and warm and inviting, and it's just such a good group of people. And our chapter tends to be smaller than the others, kind of goes up
Mhm.
and down. We're doing pretty well this year. But I always thought that's really nice that we have that as a core competency. And now I can see why. I mean, look at what it was built on.
Yeah. Yeah, just the people,
Hmm.
Rachel, Deb, Karen, Jim's leadership, Greg Giuliano, and so many people was built on that. And then we had the tragedy of 9/11, and we had then this engagement and a very different but really perfect ending to that year.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was built on a lot of good feeling things.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nice that
So,
it still feels that way.
yeah. And so I may be back in touch with you because we may want to try to put something together just
Okay.
to tell stories. Um, so then if you were 2001 and Greg was 2002, was Joan 2003, Elaine
Yeah,
2000?
it was three.
And then Elaine, I
Well,
don't
Because
now,
know
there's
that.
there's someone must have done 2 terms or a term and a half because I
Greg
came in
Greg
2007.
did his 2002, but for some reason nobody would be president for 2003.
Got it.
But after 6 months or so, he just said, "I'm not going to do this anymore." So then I think that's when Joan became president.
Okay, and then so Greg and Joan split 2003, and then
Yeah,
Joan did 2004, Elaine 2005. Okay, so that makes sense now.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's probably how it went.
yeah.
Okay, that's it. All right. Now I know chronologically. So I'm going to have to go back to Rachel and hear more details about her story about the very, very beginning and
The
what,
very,
why.
very
Yeah.
beginning. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And if
she,
any of your friends that you're still in touch with are interested in coming together for Converge in San Diego, it's in October.
okay, what's the date?
Um, I wish I had it in front of me, but it's all over the
We'll
ICF
wait.
You could
website.
email or text me or whatever.
Yeah. Um, let's just see, Converge. It's October, I think it's the 23rd, 24th, 25th, but Converge
Now,
2020.
when you say converge, what is that?
It's the ICF Global Conference. It's usually not in San Diego.
Okay.
Why is it saying Orlando?
So was it the international meeting?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it's usually, well, it's all different places.
Yeah, I think I need to put International Coach Federation. And I'll put San Diego and we'll see what happens. Announcing Converge 25, returning to our roots, building our future, October 23rd to 25th at the Hilton in San Diego.
Okay. All right. Well, send us the information. We'll
I'll
do
send you
whatever
the
we can.
information. I'll keep in touch. I so appreciate taking your time today. And this has just been a great story to hear. And I just can't wait to pull more of it together because this
Yeah.
time I don't want to
What
lose their history.
what year were you president?
I was president in 2007, and I am president again this year,
Oh,
2025.
really? You are now this
Hmm.
year, 25?
Yeah.
Good.
Good for you.
About how many members you have?
Well,
I
see,
know
it
it
depends
fluctuates.
on how you define a member because things have changed and we're not allowed to call anybody a member that's not an ICF Global member.
Oh,
So we have over 330 or between 350 and 400 usually
Mhm.
members who choose Orange County chapter as part of Global. But as far as local chapter participation, like who shows up at our meetings, um, we tend to get maybe 20 people to show up at meetings every time. We are a very active chapter right now. We have almost more things than we need to because we have virtual meetings and in-person meetings. We have
oh,
3 events every month
Oh my
at
goodness.
least. And we
Yeah.
actually have more than that. And so I think we're spreading our members a little too thin with all the stuff that we have, but we've got a great team again this year and they have so many great ideas. So they have a credentialing support program. We usually have a business builders track, and then we have some just great speakers that come and talk to us.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, we'd love to see you at a meeting. And we have a virtual meeting, so you don't have to drive all the way from Temecula. We have something um, we have an interesting one coming up on the 8th, which is just this next Tuesday, and they're talking about the social impact of coaching, right? So Susan, you'd be really interested because it's really talking about how coaches can make a difference
Mhm.
beyond just their coaching business.
well, send me the information. I had a question. Well,
It flew out of your
at this
brain.
age, the things just kind of fly out, but it'll
Right.
come back.
All right. Well, you're always welcome to reach out to me, and I will send you a
Thank
link
you.
to our events page on our website, and you can take a look at what we're doing. We would love to see you at
Okay.
anything.
Right.
And I'll send you a copy of this thing that I was speaking about. So,
Yeah, everything that you have that helps us remember, that would be wonderful.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Well,
Excellent.
it's all people.
Well,
It's all people.
we're the old timers.
That's so important though, because you were the ones that created this. So thank you so much.
You're
And
very
we'll be
welcome.
in touch.
Well, can we get a copy of this video?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's
I'll
what I
send you a
wanted to
link.
ask. Yeah,
All
I
right.
would like to have one. Thank you.
All
Thank
righty.
you
Bye-bye.
Thank
very
you
much.
so much.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.